This is a charity interview.
People like, oh, it would be so hard to undo all the corruption that exists within the system. No, it's actually relatively easy.
Oh, I need to hear this. How?
It's not America first to set the conditions that will later harm America.
Yeah. Just creating new terrorists for the future.
I think that's right. And look, I mean, anybody who is honest and looks at what's happening in Gaza right now has got to be absolutely sickened by it.
That's where the hollow earth theory starts coming in.
So just another
provide the other
but
end of that.
Hollow earth is
The
they're
hollow
saying
flat earth.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us? They attack us because we've been over there.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
what do you want to do?
I don't know, T. Let's just go fucking start the show.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You were listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and yours truly, the captain. And we have another episode for you guys. Tell them what we're talking about today.
Building the momentum. Tonight, we're going to continue talking about the war in Iran, but specifically the kind of fallout from Joe Kent, who resigned from was he the deputy chief of the Counter Terrorism office there in Washington, D.C., working with Tulsi Gabbard. And a lot of the stuff he had to say, he gave a really interesting interview with Tucker Carlson last night. So Captain and I decided best to wait a night and then react the next day to some of the stuff that they discussed there, which is primarily what we're going to do here today. Benjamin Netanyahu also made a really interesting comment today. He finally gave a press conference after
an AI version.
And that AI version, who knows? Yeah. So we'll talk about all that stuff. You also, I cut you off by accident as soon as we started recording. Anything important or no?
No, I was just going to ask, because obviously we both listened to the Tucker episode today, and something that just, caught my attention throughout the whole episode. Did Tucker ever mention, like maybe last week or whatever, how like he's under investigation now and stuff like that?
I didn't hear him discuss that. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched maybe like.
Well, I was wondering if he had mentioned it out loud in another.
Oh, he had in other recordings. Yeah.
Okay.
Before that. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's something that kind of gotten forgot about over the past couple of days. That right. It was announced that. Well, it wasn't necessarily announced, but it was kind of. Right, like Laura Loomer
for working with Iran or something.
Yeah, like Laura Loomer definitely was putting some pressure on Laura Loomer, the psychopath. Was and the CIA was going to send a criminal referral to the FBI to prosecute Tucker Carlson because he spoke to the Iranians.
Yeah. So that's why I found this conversation so like I thought it was going to be a little bit more explosive. There's plenty of stuff in it. I thought there was going to be a lot more like finger pointing, but I was like, wow, like. Tucker kind of like Tucker was against this war, and now the CIA and FBI are getting involved. This guy, Joe Kent, straight up says he's against the war for a very specific reason. And he was America's hero. This is why Trump appointed him, this, that, and the next, all that. And he went against it, and he mentioned, a reason why. And literally, which makes this such bullshit, is like a day, like 24, 48 hours after he resigns, they're like, oh, he was a leaker. Project Mockingbird, straight across the internet. He's leaking information. He's been under investigation the entire time. Just, we now have a pattern of anybody who's, is a descending voice, you're going to be fucked with.
Yeah, and just like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I saw that Project Mockingbird of all the, the MAGA,
He's a
accounts,
leaker, all that, yeah.
right? Like, as if, and from my point of view, like, good. If he was leaking this whole time, trying to get like information about how the whole process leading up to this war was fucked, I'm like, that is a fucking brave, heroic thing to do.
Yeah.
To be like leaking behind the scenes if some policy that the government is pursuing is wrong, immoral, against the nation's interest,
treasonous. Let's not
treasonous,
forget.
right?
Yeah.
So like leaking in of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. We also call that whistleblowing, perhaps, to a certain extent, right? So
funny
like
how for some people whistleblowing now it's a leak. Yeah.
So I mean, regardless of any of that, right? Like, it was ironic too how like as the interview is going live last night, it's announced that Joe Kent is now under FBI investigation for leaking. That was obviously deliberate, right? Like they knew what time Tucker was going to do the.
But hey, that guy from AIPAC said, if you go against us or if you vote against us, we will come after you. We will investigate you. And boy, look at that. Somebody went against him and he's being investigated.
Yeah. It's also just obviously so ironic being what's happened to Donald Trump the past couple of years. Right? Like, look, this is not the Tucker Carlson show. Like, I'm not going to keep the kids' gloves on when it comes to Donald Trump, right? The way Tucker and Joe Kent do. Tucker, for as much as I love his show and think he's doing a great job being honest and critical of all the bad stuff, he goes out of his way to not directly criticize Trump for anything, right? To the point where it is starting to get a little bit frustrating, right? Because it almost is getting to the point where it's becoming like just excuse making. Like me and you would both agree, Israel's definitely dog walking the president here all the time. But from my point of view, like that does not excuse him for being a bitch, right? Like you are the most powerful person in the world, or by default, I'm saying like by default, forget about all that, right? Like by default, you're sitting in the chair of what should be the most powerful person in the world. All it does is take the balls to go and to behave accordingly. So like everything we'll talk about here tonight I'm not making excuses for Donald Trump. We blame Israel for something. That doesn't excuse Donald Trump for not having stood up to them or something. But that is kind of what you do get sometimes, I feel, from Tucker. So that's a bit of a, there you go.
Well, also he, how many boomers listen to him, and this is his bread and butter now.
I also understand, I get it. Like he's probably trying to tightrope walk a relationship so that he could still get some access and maybe try and do some good. I get all that. Points back to the thing that we kind of talk about all the time, like why the MAGA influencers all suck cock. It's because like they are concerned about access. Like if they speak their mind and maybe say things they really feel and they go against the regime, they lose access, right? Then you lose access, forget it. Now you lose whatever was special about you in the first place, because most of y'all motherfuckers aren't special at all, right? There's nothing interesting or intelligent about you, right? So it's all, like an inorganic access, pay to play. Be nice.
It's a pay to play.
Be nice, and we'll give you access, and then you get content, and then et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's what Tucker's doing, but it's a version of that access. Okay, so anyway, let's stick with Joe Kent, and let's first just start with what he posted the other day, which he came out just kind of out of fucking nowhere and posted his resignation letter. Now, you keep in mind, too, I think even Garrett has had Joe Kent on the Sergeant and the Samurai podcast back in the day. So, like, I've known of Joe Kent for quite a while, had my eye on him. A lot of, interesting dude. So he tweeted, after much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counter Terrorism Center. Effective today, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been an honor serving under POTUS and Gabbard, blah, blah, blah. So I'll read the letter too, but my God, I just want to start right there.
That line is what changed everything for him.
Yeah.
If he just resigned and he was like, I can't take this position, I can't do it, but nobody bat an eyelash. He said the I word. Israel.
He's been dismissed, of course, now, called anti-Semitic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, but like, look, this isn't Captain and I, two idiot podcasters now saying that Israel is influencing the United States government. This is the director of the Counter Terrorism fucking center is now coming out and publicly saying this. right? So this isn't nothing. This is huge. Someone from within Trump's own administration has quit in resignation and said this out loud for all as public as possible. And I think sometimes, honestly, like the whole act of doing this, this is sometimes the best thing you can do when you're in a situation where it's like hopeless and, you know, maybe a guy like Joe.
I bet you if he didn't make it public, it would just be, oh, you know, the director of counterintelligence died in a car crash today.
I'm just saying, like, let's say
erased.
Not, I don't want to attribute motive or whatever, but like, let's say he thinks he's going to go in there and do some good, and then you find out there ain't shit you're going to fucking do. So what do you do? Do you do what Tulsi Gabbard's doing and you just keep towing the line, or do you just quit and protest and point out how fucked the situation is? Like, this is something.
Dude, I have a theory. It's obviously completely unconfirmed, and it's just my theory of why he probably did resign.
Oh yeah,
he's the director of Counter Terrorism, right? I said counterintelligence before
counter. Yeah, he has even like the role he was in. It's like an interesting, like department, but National Counter Terrorism Center director.
Right. Yeah. So
work for the intelligence committees.
We've been talking about a terrorist attack here. We've been talking about a false flag. Who's the guy to go to figure out who we're going to pin this terrorist attack on? That, you know, is going to create a false flag here. And they probably wanted him to help orchestrate the next 9/11. And he said no, and he quit. You know?
Yeah, or maybe they know with him. Okay, let's just say that Joe Kent's a completely honest actor here. Everything he's saying is true and he's doing the right thing. They know they're not going to be able to get a false flag type attack past him if you have like a good guy doing the right thing in the seat of preventing counterterrorism. Right. So it could be that. Right. It could be that they even need to just get him out of the way here so that they can now go and do it.
Or
and then they could also then pin it on him later and be like, you see, he was weak on Iran and that's why this happened. It was a good thing.
Or maybe it's already underway and he's like, I don't want to be the director when this goes down.
Maybe. Yeah. Again, we're just spitballing here.
The dude who owned 9/11 before September 11th now owns the second tallest building in LA. So
who are you talking about? Larry Silverstein or Lutnick or
yeah, it's Larry something, I believe.
Yeah. All right. So wow, sorry, this is so small even for me here. I'm not gonna be able to really read it. But after much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position. I can't in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran poses no imminent threat. I support the values and foreign policies that you campaigned on. He's talking to Trump in 2024, which you enacted in your first term until June of 2025. You understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated by killing Qasem Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie, and the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation in the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold actions now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further towards decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve your administration. So, that did take a lot of balls, no matter what you say.
Damning. Yep. Damning. Just calling them out, calling a spade, which nobody will do anymore.
But again, graciously doing so, right? So
yeah, he didn't attack nobody. He just, this is why, from their point of view, it's anti-Semitic, but he did point a finger.
Yeah, right. I'm not even worried about them, but like he did so in a way that he's not shitting on Donald Trump the way me or you would, or the way I would. Right? He's graciously doing so. I do feel like there's a little bit of we'll play some of the clips here in a minute. I feel like there's a little bit of what Joe Kent's definitely doing here and what Tucker Carlson's been trying to do, which is like give people license, even Trump, to like speak out against this.
Yes.
Like I remember,
that's the inauthentic thing about all this is like people are noticing that like there's heavy Israeli influence. You know what I mean? And this justifies it even more. It's even worse than we probably imagine. But everybody, once again, is so scared of being called a racist or an anti-vaxxer or a bigot or a Nazi or whatever. They won't call out the noticing because now you're anti-Semitic. And that's where all this backlash is coming from. You know what I mean? Otherwise, that's why he's not bashing Trump, because he would still be following Trump's orders and working for him if it wasn't for Israeli influence.
Right. And the policy being for Israel first.
Yes. Because and it's not America first anymore.
It's just not. Yeah. Look, to be honest with you guys, if you still really think that at this point, there's something wrong with you. I'm being honest. Like,
you're no better than the Democrats we used to talk about.
Yeah, that's not an argument, but I don't have time to make that detailed argument there. But again, I think like, I've heard people say like Ron Paul gave right wingers permission to be anti-war, right? Like you have this like conservative right wing country doctor who's like, no, it's okay actually to oppose war. And then he started this whole Ron Paul revolution of like right wingers now who oppose war. And he gave them license to, like, there was no figure who was doing this until like maybe the guy came along. There was others, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I feel like that's kind of what's at play here a bit. Like they're trying to be like, look, we'll say it for you. We'll break the ice for you. And that we'll give you an avenue, right, to like try and get out of this. But in a sense, I mean, if we like Joe Kent's got to fall on his sword to do it, perhaps he's trying to.
Yeah.
So that's the letter. Now I want to get into, we're going to be talking about the war a lot here. It's ongoing. There's a lot of shit to talk about, right? But like, let's go back to the thing Joe Kent is saying is that Israel dragged us into this war. We played the clip last week of Marco Rubio saying that we knew that the Israelis were going to attack. The Israelis thought that the Iranians were going to attack them.
So we had
so we had to then go and attack because the Israelis were going to go and attack, right? So that tells you right there. And then he backtracked the next day. So I want to play what Joe Kent and Tucker spoke about. Well, they're now breaking down Joe Kent's letter, and then we'll break down them breaking it down. That's the type of episode it's going to be here today, folks.
I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. How did you reach that conclusion?
I think this is key. I mean, this would be more challenging to explain had the Secretary of State, the President, and the Speaker of the House not come out and said that we conducted this attack at this time because the Israelis were about to do so. So that takes away the argument that there was an imminent threat, as in Iran was planning to attack us immediately. That just simply did not exist.
May I ask you to pause? Sure. And so I've heard people say that, and this just happened, but history has a way of getting rewritten in real time. And then you look back 10 or 15, 20, 25 years later, and no one seems to understand the things that you saw because they've been eliminated. Yeah. So I think it's important to stop and say, here's what we actually know. So I'd like now, if we could, just to play one of the statements that you alluded to, and that's from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. And this was shortly after this war commenced.
We played this last week. This is what I was referring to. And I think it's honestly worth just playing again because it's right at the beginning.
And he was explaining as is his habit, in a thoughtful, precise way, why. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
And so the president made a very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Okay, so that is his almost contemporaneous explanation, and it's not offhand. He reasons it out. He explains there's a logic chain there, and he says, we knew not that Iran was going to attack. He did not say that.
Right.
He said we knew Israel was going to attack Iran, and in retaliation for those attacks by Israel against Iran, Iran might attack American forces. So the imminent threat that the Secretary of State is describing is not from Iran, it's from Israel.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to the broader issue. Who is in charge of our policy in the Middle East? Who is in charge of when we decide to go to war or not? In this case, with what the secretary described, and later on the president, later on the Speaker of the House, and the way the events played out, the Israelis drove the decision to take this action, which we knew would set off a series of events, meaning the Iranians would retaliate. Now, I think there's a potential there where we could have done several different things. We could have simply said to the Israelis, no, you will not. And if you do, then we will take something away from you. I think that it's
which Trump's done a million billion times.
Israel.
Right. For any other nation in the world. Right. But when it comes to again, Joe Kent is going to make the point here that we would make, but he's going to not really criticize Trump for it. Right. But yes, you could just tell, like, we should be the one swinging the dick around. Like, no. What do you mean you guys are going to attack Iran first? No, you're not. You're not going to do anything without our permission. Or we'll take away the money we give you, the weapons we give you,
the golden
diplomatic support that we give you at the United Nations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the free oil, whatever the fuck.
But when we're providing the means for their defense, we get to dictate the terms of when they go on the offensive. Otherwise, they stand to lose that relationship. And the Israelis felt emboldened that no matter what they did, no matter what situation they put us in, that they could go ahead and take this action, and we would just have to react.
Right? Why would they not? What
inkling has in charge?
I'm just saying, right? Like, what inkling has our government ever given them that we'll fucking stand up for ourselves and do that to them, right? So he's saying they felt emboldened to just go ahead and fucking do this, and then we'll just go ahead and they'll dog walk us.
I mean, and they continue in a sense talking about that because, like, for a little bit later on in the interview, they talk about like Israel has like no plan for Iran, which is bullshit. It's empire expansion, but they're like, yeah, they don't care if there's a new civil war, they don't care if they get a new leader, they don't care if those people live in squalor or whatever. So they're just doing to do. They're completely in charge of this, and it's amazing that people don't see it. They think like this is some type of team effort. What type of team effort is it that I'm going to go punch that guy in the face right now, and that's going to equal you getting your ass kicked, Scott?
Right. That's the sort of team, right? Or it's like, it's like the quarterback takes the field and he's going to pass on every play, and the running back thinks he's going to run on every play. Like that's the sort of team that teamwork that we have going on here. Okay, so for saying something like this, Joe Kent is, of course,
a terrible person.
Terrible. He's anti-Semitic, etc. You know the deal, right? But in the same fucking day, or I'm sorry, maybe the next morning after he says this, Donald Trump tweets about another attack that just happened the other day.
Oh yeah, and this is where he wants full control over this now.
Where he posts on Truth Social: Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran.
I read this.
A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States, with or without the help of or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what Trump is basically saying here the very next day is that Israel's doing stuff without my permission. And, they read what people are saying and what's going on. So he's now trying to frame this as like, I'm talking tough to, and I'm standing up to the Israelis. It's
I'm taking control now.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, forget about the fact that we're literally in a war because of their actions. But Joe Kent is called anti-Semitic, a traitor, blah 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 for sharing the same sentiment that Donald Trump is here.
We can't look at the truth, and only Trump is their god now, so they gotta follow through that and believe whatever he wants them to believe. It's also funny to me though that like now we're taking full responsibility of any more bombings too. So the next bombing that goes awry, like it's our fault automatically. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not gonna. We could just stop bombing altogether and stop attacking altogether and make sure Israel stops. But no, we're just gonna make sure Israel stops. We'll keep attacking on behalf of both of us.
Yeah, like at any point we could just find our balls and exert our actual influence and leverage that we do have over Israel. If anybody had the fucking balls to exert it and tell them to stop and get back in the fucking line and do as we say. But no, like we could just end the war like that if
yeah, it's funny that
balls. So again, real quick, I just want to stress, like, Tucker and Joe won't go to that length, but I will.
I know.
Right? Like that is Donald Trump's fault, and they won't pin the blame on him. They paint him out to kind of be like the victim of which to a certain extent, I mean,
they're making him out to be the Jew.
Right. They're making they're making him out to be the victim of the big bad Israelis, which, for the most part, they are big bad Israelis that are trying to, do some of these foreign policy goals that are outrageous. Right. But like, I don't give a fuck. Our lead, I care about our people at the end of the day, our dudes in the chair. They could still just have balls and do something about it, not be a fucking bitch. Right? And yeah, that's going to come with the risk of maybe being killed or whatever, etc. But that's the job. Go ahead.
They even brought up in this interview how we destroyed the enrichment facilities in Iran. 6 months ago, back in June or something like that. And they were like, he even mentioned, like, I wish like I had saved that for a clip. Like Joe Kent was like, we knew back then, like Israel wasn't going to be enough for them. We bombed their facility knowing that like down the road they're going to want more out of this, and here's the more. It's not going to stop.
And that was the point a lot of us panicans were making at the time, that like that wasn't going to be the end, that bombing of the nuclear facilities, that this would happen. We were ridiculed, called panicans, called idiots. The coalition's been blown up. Right now we're proven right.
Yeah. We destroyed their enrichment we allegedly destroyed their enrichment program. We killed the Ayatollah. We decimated and disintegrated their Navy. What else? How much more do we need to do? And isn't it strange that like we could go to Venezuela in an afternoon and topple a regime? We can, and then there was the 12-day war. We got a whole war done in 12 days, But this one for some reason, after we've killed the supreme leader and completely spanked Iran, it's not over yet.
Well, I do think that there's a ton of propaganda and bullshit in there. I think Iran has, yes, they've definitely gotten the shit beat out of them, but they've also proven that they're not a fucking pushover like Maduro and his security forces or anything. Like, they are punching back hard. I think I sent you today.
Yeah,
they actually hit an F-35, the first time in like our most advanced fighter jets ever been touched by any sort of enemy fire ever. So they have the capability to fucking give a black eye back, and that seems to be now what they're committed to doing. But again, man, like, that's the story, folks. And if you don't know it by now, I don't know what else to tell you. And even like, I want to make a point real quick. It's a bit of a side, but like the MAGA influencers, and I'm not pointing at just one dude that you all know or whatnot, but like, you just see so many of them. The ones who were calling us panicans back in June for pointing this shit out, that all happened now. I found a lot of them are just living vicariously through all this shit, Cap. I don't know if you feel the same way or think about it. Like, a lot of them, like a lot of them see this. It's like, I was talking to our buddy James the other day. I'm like, it's like greatness of Rome type shit. Like, they see like, look, America, baby, we're going to war and we're going to blow these motherfuckers up and we're going to use our powerful military. We're so powerful. And like, like they live vicariously through these actions. Right. But they themselves are not signing their fucking kids up, going to war. They're not picking up a gun,
drones and tanks. Yeah,
right. It's like this odd thing. It reminds me of like when Tim Pool said, like, I'm wearing the boot now in response to the, the riots about the thing, and people are like, you're wearing the boot. What the fuck are you talking about? What boot are you wearing? Right? It's like, that shit is gay. And I'm sorry, let me just finish my point real quick. Like, that shit is so gay, and it's even gayer because we're actually being taken advantage of here by another foreign nation. And you're over here living vicariously. Rah. You think you're the tough guy, but in a sense, you're celebrating being a fucking cuck.
Yeah.
That's literally what's happening here. And you're celebrating it. You're machismo. You're living vicariously through it. Like, it's not too late to stop and just be like, I'm wrong. I don't want American soldiers being killed on behalf of a foreign nation's interests, and I was wrong. That's fine. At any moment, you can do that. I'm now giving you guys permission, like Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson. So just wanted to make that point real quick.
I kind of see it as I was making the comparison to myself earlier. I always said, like, there's going to be a time where we have to start outing right-wing people, because for the past 8 whatever plus years, we've been outing how crazy the left is. I feel like the left is so destroyed and demoralized that there's only really like moderate Democrats left, that like, non-Trump derangement syndrome people. But now we have like the new Democrats, which are these psycho MAGA people who
they also have Trump derangement syndrome. Just different
they
form.
do, just in a different in a different direction. Bibi Netanyahu is the right, these deranged people's what's the Ukrainian leader's name? Zelensky. There we go.
Yeah,
he's their new Zelensky.
Yeah.
This is their Russia, war. We for whatever reason we needed to protect this gray little Donbass area. Now for whatever reason we need to protect this state the size of New Jersey. Like it's the same storyline. These are 2026 Democrats. You're no different. You're absolutely no different than the Democrats with the fucking red and with the blue and yellow flags on their cars.
Yeah, I know you said before that we did, your classic. We will expose the right. These people are to our left. All of them.
Yeah, I guess so.
They're all to our left. Like again, the Overton window. We're way over there to the right. These people are all to our left, because you're right. It is all kind of like leftist type behavior. So what does I tell you right there? Right, like they're definitely not to our fucking right. I saw somebody make that post. I saw somebody make a funny post today. It was like that song. It's like, whatever to the left of me, whatever, it was like Netanyahu to the right of me and me just in the middle or whatever. And I'm like, no, bro, like funny post, but like Netanyahu's definitely to our left, without a doubt, So anyway, let's before we go on too many tangents, let's keep going. So you have any other points you want to make about that? I want to get to Joe Kent talking about the Iranian nuclear weapons program. No, good, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah,
all right. Talking about Iran making nuclear weapons. That is the premise.
Making nuclear
that is the premise of this whole war from Trump's point of view, right? That we have to go and stop them from making nuclear weapons.
Was Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon?
No, they weren't. 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean, the Iranians have had a religious.
Real quick, they weren't in June either.
Yeah.
When we were saying that
now.
back then.
Twice
so again,
now.
it's not even just right now. It's about back then we were right too.
Yeah.
Ruling a fatwa against actually developing a nuclear weapon since 2004. That's been in place.
Sorry, I was screaming. He says the Ayatollah, now before he's been killed, issued a fatwa, like a religious ruling, saying it's against Islam and against our religion to go and make a nuclear weapon. So he was, in a sense, forbidding the IRGC at the time. I'm just want to make sure everybody understood that part.
Since 2004, that's available in the public sphere. But then also we had no intelligence to indicate that fatwa was being disobeyed or it was on the cusp of being lifted. The Iranian strategy, it's actually pretty pragmatic. The Iranians are obviously aware of what's taking place.
Before I forget, like again, I want to re-stress that real quick, because I've heard that before. I've heard that from like Scott Horton and a lot of people way fucking smarter than me who understand all this shit way better, that Ayatollah Khomeini had issued a religious decree saying
this is the first time I ever heard this.
Heard it way before, but and I respect the hell out of Scott Horton, but there is a difference between Scott Horton and the guy who literally was the director of counterterrorism in the United States government. Now also saying the same thing Scott Horton, for just as an example, was saying, right? So he's saying like this is all publicly available, right? That's how like a Scott Horton, et cetera, would know about it. But also we had the guy from the inside who gets the intelligence report.
Yeah.
We got no intelligence saying that he had changed his mind or undone this fatwa to make the nuclear weapons.
Yeah, my biggest question when listening to this was like, so Tulsi also had said that like there was no imminent threat of them or imminent actions for them to be taking to nuclear enrich or make a nuclear weapon. And all these people in the intelligence agencies had like, oh no, there's nothing going on. But what was Trump reading then? What was Trump like? How is he so convinced if he's not being dog walked and Israel is not influencing what goes on? what did he read? Who brought the case to him that says the exact opposite of what Joe's saying right now?
The Israelis. I think he gets into that, right? So
Yeah.
again, like, right, that's like Trump's own intelligence agencies are all saying this, right? Like, I even posted the other day, and it's going super viral right now on TikTok. Tulsi Gabbard yesterday, or the day before, giving her testimony, where she again echoes these exact same sentiments. This is after Joe Kent has now resigned, like same day or whatever, day after, where she's saying, no, like, we know they weren't making a nuclear weapon. Again, just keep in mind, back up, the whole fucking war is premised on they were making a nuclear weapon, and the United States is in imminent danger. We have to go in now and start the war. But the intelligence agencies are saying no. Tulsi Gabbard yesterday testified the same exact thing. We had no intelligence. All the stuff that Joe Kent's saying, she's saying the same thing. And then when it was pushed back on her, well, then, why did the president say that there was an imminent danger? Her response to that, and this is why she's a fucking sellout, was like, the president gets to determine what an imminent danger is or isn't. All right, like, fair enough, right? Like, I guess he does to some extent.
Nice little way to weasel out of that.
Like, so the president at any time could just ignore the facts and make a unilateral decision.
Yeah,
that's basically what she said. All right, let's let Joe explain a little bit more about the whole nuclear weapons thing, because it's fucking important. It's the whole justification of war. It's the whole justification for the war in Iraq, right? So like, again, Garrett will be asking like, what can we do? I'm tired of exploring this shit and explaining this shit, right? Well, like, I wish someone was doing this shit back during the war in Iraq when everybody had WMD fucking fever and could have grabbed a mic if they didn't have the technology at the time and like, hey, they're fucking lying. Like, everyone should be doing that to as biggest extent that they possibly can.
Yeah, in their region, and their strategy was to not completely abandon their nuclear program, because they saw what happened to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya when he said, hey, I've got no more nukes. I'll do what you say. I'll give up my nukes.
And we gave him the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, we regime changed him, and he was executed by his own people in the most horrific way.
Sodomized by a bayonet. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that's the lesson I think that the entire region took from that when Hillary Clinton.
Unfortunately, that is what the neocon neoliberal warmongers. That's the lesson that they showed everyone in the region. And then conversely, the Iranians also knew that if they came out and said, okay, we've got a nuke, whether they were bluffing or not, Saddam Hussein, Iraq right next door. So they kind of had this,
hung, I think.
He was hung by his own people, after a bloody, war that's still essentially going on inside of Iraq. So the Iranians' position, when viewed from the lens of the region, was actually fairly pragmatic. They were preventing, themselves from developing a bomb, but they still wanted the ability. They wanted the ability to enrich. They wanted the ability to have some components so that they weren't completely stripped of it. And when we always assessed that they were either several months or a year, 2 years away from actually being able to develop a nuclear weapon, and that's not
since 1996.
I think we can tell right now that the Iranians are anything but stupid. They had the ability, I think, that the brain power to actually develop one, or they could have simply traded a ton of oil with Pakistan or someone else to actually get a nuclear weapon. They were not doing that. We had no intelligence to indicate that they were.
Okay, so the director of counterterrorism tells you right there, no intelligence there. And what he's talking about is also, again,
you might need to send me that clip so I could send it to my father just repeatedly.
Sure. Well, he probably thinks he's a traitor, treasonous, leaker, or whatever the fuck now. But again, so like what he's explaining here is, again, I've heard Scott Horton and many others, just Scott's my guy, right? So talk about the concept of like, what was Iran doing with that nuclear material? They were hanging on to it, and it was called a latent nuclear deterrent. What did we talk about last week?
Yeah,
how, like, this policy,
why we don't do this to South Korea.
Right, like what Iran is doing, it's been called like a latent nuclear deterrent. So they don't actually have a nuclear weapon. They have like some of the recipes to make a nuclear weapon. They don't actually want to make a nuclear weapon. However, we're going to hang on to the recipes because we have kind of learned a lesson
if you fuck around enough.
Right, like if we get rid of these recipes, we get overthrown and blown the fuck up, like Muammar Gaddafi, like Saddam Hussein, etc. What did we talk about last week, right? That this policy actually incentivizes Kim Jong-un and proves him right that having nuclear weapons is how you remain a sovereign leader, a sovereign nation, whatever. Doesn't mean you're good guys. I'm not a fucking Kim Jong-un fan, right? But like, so the Iranians are just following that logic, although they're being a little bit more reasonable. Like, we don't actually want to make a nuclear weapon. We're just going to hang on to the shit. And that was the place in the decision-making tree that they were just hovering around at. And as I've understood it to this very day, a bargaining chip to be bargained away, right? So like, we have this bargaining chip. We don't want to use it. We're going to hang on to it so that it gives us some sort of sovereignty, and we will eventually make a deal with you, and we will give that away if you give us an assurance of our sovereignty. That's how I've understood it, right? So, like all these negotiations,
we can't do that.
Again, put yourself in their shoes. Now they feel like they can't trust anything in sort of negotiations, right? But you see what I'm saying? Like,
well, how many times were we trying to negotiate a ceasefire and then Israel would just bomb them again?
Right.
Or you know what I mean?
You're in an impossible scenario. How do you actually trust the other side?
It really just comes down to the same reason why me and you like to have guns. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
You're not sovereign. Am I sovereign? Like Walking Dead happens, right? Am I sovereign on this property if I have no means to defend myself? No, somebody else could come in here at any moment, kick my teeth in, shoot my whole fucking family, and take my property over, right? So, it's just logic, right? And they've shown themselves to be logical. So everybody wants to make them out to be insane, fanatical, religious kooks who are all goat fuckers or whatever,
cavemen and stuff like I always call them. But they're smart enough to to cook one up.
That's such like low IQ analysis of the problem or of the scenario. You're a fucking idiot if those are the points that you're making. They're not.
Well,
they've shown tremendous restraint.
You got to think, the deep state and the propaganda machine really believes everybody is, and they want us to be, and they drug us and poison us to be low IQ individuals. So all we have to do is sit here and go, nuclear weapons, they got a nuclear weapon, and and then we just buy it, and here we are, and you got people, sucking dick. So
again, yeah, exactly. Again, like we are at war here now, folks, under false pretenses.
Yeah.
Now, someone from the inside is telling you what the intelligence assessment was. He's not the only one. So for everyone who's out there also now dismissing what Joe Kent has to say, and they're like, he didn't get access to the intelligence briefings because he's been identified as a leaker months ago, so they cut him out. You're seeing people say that now, the cocksuckers are all saying that now. They're literally saying guys, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't actually been privy to any of this information because he's been cut out.
They would know, because other podcasters with the same IQ of us,
right? Isn't that so interesting how that also works out, right? Like a lot of them will make the defense of anything Trump does, and they'll be like, "You're not on the inside. You're not privy to what he knows. Therefore, how do you know? How can you really comment? He must be seeing something else in there, and that's why he's pursuing this action." But then when someone from the inside comes out and says what they know, they'll then turn around and be like, you see that, that guy doesn't really know the deal. Like,
he was cut off. He's a loser.
Someone who is privy to the information, which you just told me 5 seconds ago. Like, you can't comment on it because you're not privy to the information. And somebody who is comes out and says something counter to your narrative or whatever it is.
Even if they want to call, they want to say, Joe Kent's not privy to this information. Tulsi Gabbard just said the same thing last night. So now is she not privy to this information as well? Or are we just going to, anybody who has this theory just is a leaker and not on the inside anymore?
Yeah.
How deep, how far, how many people do we have to go for it to be, okay, maybe that is the information on the inside?
They're not here to think critically or get to the bottom of things. They're here to suck
dick. Yeah.
That's what they're here to do. Suck cock for access. That's exactly what is happening here. All right. So there was I think I accidentally X'd it out. See if I can get it back again. But they did talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk also. I got it back.
Which I think, minus the false pretenses to go into war, I think the conversation about the assassinations attempt and the assassinations were great, was a great part of this interview, because so many people, that's one thing that always confused me since the beginning of Trump's presidency. It makes me question whether everything's a psyop. Trump is not someone to be trifled with. He will literally spit in the face of a world leader. He does not give a shit. Somebody shot his ear off, and they blamed it on Iran. And we've done nothing. There should, to me, the way people have Trump derangement syndrome, Trump doesn't need Israel influence. He should have just became president and turned the place into a. You took a quarter inch of my ear off. I'm going to take you guys out for the next quarter century.
You know what's interesting as you're saying this that I just thought of? all those people who are cultists, Trump sycophants, right? At this point, is what I'll just call them. They don't seem to give a fucking shit about who actually tried to kill Donald Trump.
No.
We, ironically, somehow, we probably care more about that.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And those, just because Trump isn't talking about it and he's not interested himself, which we'll get into here in a second, neither are they. Right?
Yeah.
Like, your God almost got assassinated, and you are not interested whatsoever in finding out the fucking details behind
Dude, their
Because
God
he-
got framed for being a Russian
Don't
spy.
care about that
They're
either
not
anymore.
interested in that. Their God was wrongfully impeached not once but twice. They're not interested in that.
Yeah, like all those things.
I mean,
yeah.
the big thing for why we voted for him was to get justice for the things they did to him.
Right. And I was fine with that too. Like, I don't like the ego of it, but like,
If you
the
get
enemy
one
of
less
my enemy
Congress
is my
member,
friend, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I don't give a shit how they get him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If they get him for fucking tax evasion, like they used to do to mob,
Yeah.
go for it. I don't give a shit. If you can't actually pin him on being fucking satanic lizard people, all right, but you get him for tax evasion, good enough. As long as they end up in prison or something like that, right? So, all right. So let's get into, there are two more interesting clips about assassinations. One's Charlie Kirk, play that one, we'll give our thoughts. And then the other one's about Thomas Crook and what we were just talking about ourselves.
And then, Charlie Kirk is killed publicly in a very horrific way. And we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisors. And he also advocated heavily against a war with Iran. He was in the Oval Office in the lead up to the 12-day war. I wasn't particularly close with Charlie. He was very gracious to me when I was running for Congress, very, very supportive. So we knew each other. And the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing in the stairway. And I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small, you've been in the West Wing, it's small, it's a tight space. And he said, "Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran," very loudly.
He was single-minded.
And he walked off, and he went, I believe, into the Oval. So when one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocal.
So real quick, I'll just point out, like, a lot of people are like, yeah, bro, like, yeah, trust me, bro. That's definitely what he said. Anybody could watch all of fucking Charlie Kirk's public statements while he was alive. The monthly, he was absolutely against the war in Iran. So it's not fucking far-fetched to think that he would tell the director of Counter Terrorism, please, like, you get the moment to lobby people in a position of power. What can you do, right? You say it to them, please keep us out of the war with Iran, right? Like, it would make sense that Charlie Kirk would say something like that to Joe Kent in the position that he's in.
Advocating for us to not go to war with Iran and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis. And then he's suddenly publicly assassinated, and we're not allowed to ask any questions about that.
And remember, pause it real quick.
It's a data point that we need to
remember all the things we've noticed that led up to his, assassination attempt. Meetings with a certain prime minister, money being offered from a certain nation, and then
the Hamptons meeting with all the influencers where they apparently like pressured Charlie Kirk. Yeah,
right. To be more pro-Israel, and then after his assassination, how Turning Point USA has made a complete left turn, and look who runs it, and just. If you notice too much, like that, that clip I sent you and Garrett on Instagram, you're gonna wake up tied up in your bathroom, and they're gonna CIA is gonna be putting a Quran and a manifesto in your nightside table.
So again, I saw a counterpoint certain people we know were making about this was, was that
it's a local
investigation, and the FBI just gave information to the Utah Police Department, and they're the ones who are really running the investigation. So like, he didn't actually have access, nor would he be in the chain of command to do so. Are you fucking joking me?
Yeah.
Are you fucking joking me?
Yeah.
So do you what a lazy cope.
Yeah.
They're making
I could tell you one thing with 100% certainty, having, policemen in my family, is that like they could look up just about anything. Like, you could be a cop in the Bronx and something could happen here in Connecticut, and you could get the intel. So if you really, really want me to believe that the director of counterterrorism can't get any form of access to the Utah Police Department or state police department, give me a fucking break.
Well, that's
Give
not
me a
exactly
break.
that's not what even Joe Kent is saying. Joe Kent's basically saying that like the people who did have who did kind of like run the investigation did have the
Yeah,
information.
they weren't
Or like
sharing
shutting
any of it
down,
either.
weren't
Yes.
sharing and shutting it
Yeah.
down.
And remember,
the
he
reason,
also,
and again, the cope is that like, well, that's because the local police are handling this.
well, that's why I was
investigation.
saying I'm trying to blow up like the cope of like the local police departments only privy to this information.
Right, and the way I look at it is like, are you fucking joking me? Like, everyone's seen Die Hard. Like,
Yeah.
the ranking law enforcement agency swoops in and is like, we're taking over. You know,
Yeah.
we're taking charge of the investigation now. Yeah, obviously, Joe Kent and Counter Terrorism Federal National Intelligence Bureau are higher than the Utah State Police Department. If there is so in reality, like in a perfect world where everyone's functioning as they should be, if the counterterrorism division wants to tell the Utah Police Department, listen, we got to look into this. You got to share the information with us because we just want to make sure we want to tie down every possible scenario here and make sure that everything's okay. That absolutely would be approved and okay.
Yeah.
You can't.
But
now
what he
tell me,
says next is amazing.
again, you cannot tell me that that's not the way things would work. That's essentially the argument they're making. That's not the way things would work. It's with the Utah Police Department. They're the law of the land, right? Like we can't. That's it. No one else could swoop in.
I'm
going
to move to Utah and become a police officer.
I mean, Utah's pretty base, right? They got the concealed carry permit thing and all that stuff, but I don't think they got that much sway. They could tell the federal government to kick rocks.
Fuck off, yeah.
Right. It seems like someone else within the federal government.
Especially when his department had more leads to follow up on.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, that's how an investigation works. You fucking investigate every possible scenario.
Tucker says, he's like, you'll never be able to investigate anything ever again if this is the way.
Look into.
What do you mean when you say we're not allowed to ask any questions about that?
We've been told that this individual, Robinson, is a lone gunman, and maybe he is. But the investigation that I was a part of, the National Counterterrorism Center was a part of, we were stopped from continuing to investigate. And the FBI will say that they stopped that because they wanted to turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
no, I don't think you are.
Because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public, that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump.
Keep noticing this stuff
with Iran.
Yeah. There you have it. Now, again, like I think that's an extremely fair assessment. Even after Charlie was killed, I know everyone would come on this show and be like, Israel did it. Israel did it. Right. And I was like, I don't know. At the time, I of course I was like, it's pretty far fetched, but, and even today, right? Like there isn't necessarily conclusive, obvious evidence
there isn't
that they had it. However, we can't, you now like, again, you look behind the curtain and you've now seen that like people who are in position to actually perhaps look into that and verify that Israel didn't do it were stopped from even doing that. Right. And that leads into kind of the next clip I want to play. One more about conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Now, this one is funny. I don't know if you saw this one. I mean, you watched the whole thing, but they talk about Thomas Crooks. And like this clip basically talks about me, you, and Gary. Like they might have all just fucking mentioned us by name. And a lot of people like us.
Well, Tucker's a big fan of the show.
Yeah, he is definitely. He's definitely watching us most of the time. And then
one of the six people
taking notes and playing Two Doom Men clips for 45% of his show. To bounce off of.
The current president was the subject of a near successful assassination attempt like recently.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to look into very obviously or divulge information that everyone knows they have. For example, the surveillance tape from the shooting range at which Thomas Crooks trained, because it would answer the question, was he training with somebody? And if so, who? They have that footage and they won't release it. What could possibly be the explanation for that?
I know what the result is. The result is people come to their own conclusions, and this is where like crazy conspiracy theories come from. And then those conspiracy theories usually are easy to debunk or make the people saying them sound crazy. So then the actual question never gets answered.
Right. I'm sorry. Can you say that?
All right. I feel like a lot of people in our camp need to hear that, right? Because like I'm so skeptical of everything. Like that actually sounds pretty fucking plausible most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That like they just rather there be no information so that we will like speculate. We will get crazy speculations the way we often do, and those crazy speculations will then be easily dismissible to the normies, the general public. Guys are nuts. Look at them, what they're talking about. They're talking about aliens and the lizard people.
How could you believe politicians eat babies and rape children?
I mean, you have the director of Counter Terrorism pointing this out. Like, it's not Garrett. It's not me. It's not Alex Jones. The director of Counter Terrorism is saying this.
For people who haven't lived in Washington, okay, I try to explain this to people all the time because this has been ongoing since at least the Kennedy assassination. But this is a very serious and reoccurring thing. It's a tactic. And you just explained it better than anyone I've ever heard. Can you just do that again if you can recall it from memory?
Yeah, I mean, so basically you give no information whatsoever on something that's obvious that there should be information. Like you outlined, like there's potentially footage of crooks at the shooting range. Again, police 101, go get the tapes. Let's figure it out. If you don't want to address that question, then you go silent and you say, you can't ask that question, which then creates people who come out of kind of nowhere and they start drawing their own conclusions, knowing the way the internet works. I mean, half of them, if not more, are probably going to be so far off in left field and made by legitimate kooks or bots that then you can just be like, oh, these people asking these questions about that tape at the video range.
It's space
They're
aliens.
All crazy conspiracy theorists. They say it's a UAP or whatever. And so then you've just, diverted all attention away from the thing that you're trying to conceal, and now everyone's focused on the crazies.
Strange how much we get right, though.
Yeah, and I think you could apply this logic or tactic to so much stuff, right? Like a lot of the crazy fucking hysteria about like Nazis and anti-Semitism is kind of like the same concept. It's like, no, a lot of us here just have like legitimate foreign policy grievances with the government of Israel. Don't actually hate Jewish people, etc. But like you guys are just crazy hysteria so that you could lump in like legitimate criticism or like possibly people, getting to the bottom of something by airing these legitimate grievances and then just packaging them all together with like just the craziest shit some people say. I don't know, right? Like lizard people or whatever. You know what I mean? And then it's like an easy way to just like blanket dismiss everyone. And it's done on purpose. That's the thing. That's what Joe Kent's
part of the propaganda machine
saying, right? Yeah, or it's a tactic. Tucker said it's a tactic. I thought that was a good way to put it. An easy way to dismiss legitimate concerns of people. Definitely. Any other thoughts on that in general, Cap? The assassinations.
No.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add to it because we all have the same sentiment. We want the information about this. I mean, and on top of we want to get to the bottom of it. We're not going to be able to trust whatever the outcome is. None of us really believe he was some lone gunman or anything of that nature. A lot of us have a ton of questions about Charlie Kirk's assassination, like why they paved over the crime scene, which within like
broke it up
72
right
hours.
Yeah.
And all those unanswered questions. We can't trust what we're going to get out of it anymore. I don't know where we have to go to as a society or a people to get back to a place where if information on this came out that we would actually be able to believe it, or it just wouldn't be more propaganda moving chess pieces to promote some other fucking agenda, but it is strange that we can't. The main reason, this is what I was thinking of when I was listening to it. The number one reason why somebody like Joe Kent couldn't investigate Charlie Kirk's death any further, and he was stonewalled and he was stopped, is because he was going to find out who orchestrated it.
Right.
That
Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic?
Yeah, there is some, and I'm not even. This has nothing to do with Israel or a certain race or whatever. Whoever is at ground zero of planning Trump's assassination attempt, at the ground zero of planning Charlie Kirk's assassination attempt, that's what he was going to find out. And now it's harder to find that out. So all I see is we are protecting that person for whatever reason. It's the government. If I pay $601 on Venmo and don't put it in my taxes, I get arrested for tax evasion. You mean to tell me about my little transaction, but you don't know who tried to kill the president? I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, I mean that's the giant double standard that is government, right? Like they could just go and fucking murder 128, girls at a school in Iran, and won't even not even a slap on the wrist for anyone.
Whoopsie.
No one even gives a fuck,
Nope.
right? But if you have $1 more in your Venmo account or whatever it was you just said before, right? Like, there's a chance you might get in trouble, go to jail for it. Yeah. That's why I've become a libertarian anarchist over the years, because I've come to realize the hard way.
I think I'm just anarchist now.
Yeah.
Just none.
All right.
I'm a bunker person.
Yeah,
You're
a prepper. Okay, so one more clip. This is nothing. We're past Joe Kent.
Oh,
now.
Is this what angered
Benjamin,
you today? Yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't anger me. It's just interesting. I was just joking with you when I texted you before. So Benjamin Netanyahu there has been rumors that he's dead the past 2 weeks or so. There's been a couple definitely fucking suspicious.
Which I wish we could have. We need an episode to just talk about that shit.
I'm still letting that play out, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there have been videos that are sus, right? Like, there are videos that are suspicious of Benjamin Netanyahu.
The one video he had
one
six fingers.
The one video, there was a video, his ring disappears, and that one look again, like what Joe Kent said before, like, I try to always keep myself honest with anything. And like when I see everyone saying
you're
Benjamin
way more
Netanyahu,
skeptical, yeah.
But I'm saying when everyone's saying Benjamin Netanyahu's dead, I'm like, I don't know, like. But then I go and look at Benjamin Netanyahu's own video on his own Twitter account that he posted of him walking around like a cafe, and he goes to talk to these two ladies, and like his fucking ring literally just vanishes off of his hand in the video. It's not like that was a video someone else posted, like where they screen grabbed it and they edited it. Maybe. No, that was his video himself. So now I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Now, it could even be that they're posting these things on purpose to, like Joe Kent just said, like to fuel speculation, conspiracy theory, right? This way they can dismiss your legitimate criticisms of their policy, etc. Right? So like it could be that they're doing all these things on purpose. Now, anyway, that's besides the point. That's not even what I'm trying to get at with this video I wanted to share. This was just, I got a lot to say here. I'm sure you will here too. But he actually does give a press conference today, where he talks about Jesus and Genghis Khan. And God damn it, I just find it so ironic that like this side is the one calling the other side the religious fanatics and all that stuff. But like this fucking guy is always talking about religion, and now he's mentioning Jesus. Like obviously the Jews don't believe in Jesus, right? Is the same way that we would, right? So like there's some irony there as well. But let's play what Benjamin Netanyahu had to say today, and then we'll comment.
He also basically talks about his own plan, how he's running the show, right? Like if you're evil enough and ruthless enough, you too.
There's a lot in here. There's a lot. It's 1 minute and 15 seconds. There's a lot. And me and you are probably gonna come at it from two completely different angles, which I'm gonna appreciate.
Also wrote The Lessons of History, very brief, 100-page book, in which he said, well, history proves that, unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good. Aggression will overcome moderation. So you have no choice. If you look at the world as it is today, you have to be blind not to see that the democracies led by the United States have to reassert their will to defend themselves and to oppose their enemies in time while there's still time, before the jarring gong of danger wakes them up and wakes them up too late. This is where we are now.
The jarring gong of danger. Yes, Cap. The Western nations, the United States and its allies, you see what we haven't done enough of the past 20 years? We haven't done enough war.
Yeah, we haven't attacked enough. We
haven't attacked enough countries. We haven't killed enough people. We haven't defended ourselves enough the past 20 years of global war on terror. It's sorry, but back up. So I did view, like, this isn't a Benjamin Netanyahu quote. Like, I think he's quoting Winston Churchill and a book that he read, but he's using obviously the quote. Now, like, I never heard that before. Interesting. I find shit like this so interesting. In of itself, the premise is so goddamn flawed. I don't know who wrote it, but like that Jesus can't beat Genghis Khan. Now, most people probably know who Genghis Khan is, right? Like the crazy Mongol warrior who fucking killed millions of people, and like his descendants,
all Asia
most of the people in Asia are his descendants, because that's how many people he fucking raped over the years. Now, like Jesus Christ, wouldn't be able to stand up to him because eventually evil and aggression will win out. Like, okay. who lived first? Jesus.
Yeah.
He lived in 30. He died in 33 AD. Genghis Khan died in 1277 or something like that. I looked up, right? So like over 1,000 years later, Genghis Khan. So look, Genghis Khan existed in after Jesus already existed. So like, are we all here worshiping Genghis Khan in 2026? No, no one fucking's worshiping
His
Genghis
good.
Khan.
Good is overcome thousands and thousands of years.
Right. To this day, it's the largest religion in the world, Christianity, right? A non-violent religion. So it did, like this exact scenario that he's quoting, like we ran the experiment in real time without the guy. Jesus wasn't around to actually like stand there and even oppose it. But like his like the example that he set did beat Genghis Khan thing in the grand scheme of things over time. So it's like just a bizarre thing like cite as an example, on top of the fact that like, yeah, we haven't done enough war in 20 years. We need to now be more aggressive and do things like that.
You need to be more aggressive on behalf of Israel and attack Iran harder because danger is coming for you. And if you don't protect Israel, then
right.
Yeah,
He's
be at your doorstep.
The gong of whatever it was, like the gong, he's trying to make that point. Like, yeah, like the Iranians, they're the barbarians at the gates. And if, the Christians don't do something about it, even if you be like non-violent Christians, these fucking hordes of Muslim animals are going to overtake you and whatever. So we got to be more of it's again, he's playing into like the religious insanity, of this whole thing. Well, again, I find the great irony of the whole thing is like, they're the ones saying the other side are the religious fanatics, right? But he's playing into the religious fanaticism here.
What I find
go for it. There's more. Please get into it.
What I find ironic is that like, when he's like, America needs to wake up to the threat. Yeah. To you. They need to wake up. You are the danger. There's a line in Breaking Bad when Walter White just pushes Skylar's shit and he unloads on her. And he's like, you hear a knock on the door and you think it's danger? I'm the one who knocks.
Right.
Benji, BB, you're the one knocking,
again,
baby.
Israel in the past 2 years has attacked every single one of its neighbors.
Yeah.
But he's out there saying they're the ones that are being aggressive. If we don't do something, we'll be over. Right. Again, it's all projection, which is this is such a goddamn interesting quote because there's so many layers to it.
I read this today. Somebody said that Israel, if true, it made a very calculated move. They lost the faith of the American people by dragging us into war with Iran. But in exchange, they gained Donald Trump. So they'd rather lose influence with the American people to have influence over the president for the next 3 years. So now in the future, that means it's going to be harder for politicians to get elected with pro-Israel views, right? So whatever their end game is, they believe they could accomplish it within the next 3 years.
Yes, I agree. I think that's playing out absolutely. They see the writing on the wall and they've pushed all their chips to the middle of the table right now. We got to go right now. We got to accomplish major, policies, policies of ours that we've been trying to accomplish for many years right now because 10 years from now, 15 years from now, like
it's not going to be possible.
Yeah. You also see them. I don't know what's going on, man, but like they are pivoting definitely to propagandize India as well. Like they're already like looking to find the next like host that they're going to like latch onto. And I'm not talking about Jews or anything like that. I'm talking about like the Israeli government and its welfare queen status.
Yeah.
Like they seem like they're already trying to position themselves to look for the next benefactor, who's going to support them in this thing. Like I
South
said,
America,
Laura Loomer was over in India the other day talking to them about that stuff. Right. So like whatever's going on, there's something interesting for another time to talk about. But yeah, again, we're just, God damn it, what an interesting fucking thing for him to say. If that even was him.
And
if that
he was
wasn't
standing
AI.
in front of a green screen. So there is
I think that was I think that was a press conference. Now, again, maybe the press
but how
is
did
in
he
on
make
it.
the press conference when he's missed the last like 14 security meetings?
Could be a body double clone lizard person. Who knows? Lizard people are able to do anything.
Shapeshift. It was a skinwalker.
Yep. Real quick, the last point on that very thing. I also don't think that it's unlikely that he just decided to randomly invoke Jesus just to like piss off Christian people, and like again, like antagonize that like right wing Christian nationalist type thing, you know, and then he could point to it later and be like, you see, all these people hate Jews. Meanwhile, like, you know,
they're all anti-Semitic,
right? Like, you see, like you're invoking the name of our God, right? In a sense, and you know, I could see how that could be interpreted as, or that could piss people off, right?
And the media,
given the
eat that up 'cause
circumstances,
they hate Christians.
Yeah. See, you see what I mean, right? Like it's a poke the bear sort of thing, perhaps as well. So, God damn it, there was a lot in there. We could have probably done a whole episode on that one quote by Benjamin Netanyahu. There, okay, we got a couple of tweets of the week. Captain has a tweet of the week
for the first time in a long time,
in ages. Yeah,
but I don't even know if it's going to play. It's from Joe Kent. So.
Okay, we'll do yours second. Let's go with my first one. Some of them are topical. Tom Wood says, "Boomers in 2030." Okay, you were right about Iraq and Iran, and frankly, everything in between. But this war with Turkey is really necessary. You know, that's fucking probably what's going to happen.
It's an Instagram picture, so
yeah. Hold on,
I know you got to do something special.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Let's stop sharing this. Oh yeah. Hold up. Stop sharing. Switch over because it's got video or something as well.
I don't.
No,
there's no video. There's no video.
Okay. Yeah, that's the key. Is there video or not? We got to share differently. Go ahead.
Okay. We can't get Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Strauss, Page, McCabe, Obama, Vidman, the January 6th pipe bomber, Pelosi, Schiff, Swalwell, or the coke in the warehouse. But by God, we can indict Joe Kent.
Did General Flynn fucking share this? Yeah, he did. So that's really from General Mike Flynn's page himself. Yeah, right. Like, yeah, of course. I mean,
in 24 hours of resignation, we could indict this man, but we can't figure out the January 6th pipe bomber.
No other backup point even needs to be made about that. That's just such a goddamn good point in general. Okay, I got 2 more tweets and one just funny video that we'll end it on. Yeah, this is kind of a similar point. I've seen a lot of. So the AutoPen investigation gets shut down, but the Joe Kent investigation is fully active, right? Oh, and by the way, is anyone going to prison over Russiagate? Because Drew Hernandez tweeted that, right? Like you see the whole AutoPen thing that Trump was talking so much shit about. Gone. They're not going after it, etc. Mass deportations also aren't happening, etc. You know, on and on and on. Okay, this is the tweet of the week. Someone who we have been extremely critical of in this podcast back in the day.
Is this the Turks guy?
Yes, and you've even been like, this guy's out of control. He maybe needs to be put in prison. I remember many years ago, but God damn it, he's something's definitely changed.
He's
lately
changed gears a little bit, but he does have interesting takes.
Yes, Cenk lately has definitely gotten much better, and this is probably the tweet of the week, the observation I think of the week, in my opinion. Cenk says it's very curious that all the groups who organized protests against Trump earlier have not organized a single protest over this very unpopular war. Most of those so-called left-wing groups are actually controlled by Democratic leadership who are obviously in favor of this war. What is Cenk talking about? Like, you've seen those No Kings rallies and things like that. Like, I've seen them around here. I'm sure you've seen them where you're at, right? And it's like all these old boomer, white people boomer types. I mean, they definitely have Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Why aren't they mobilizing to protest the war?
Because all protests are fake. All of them are fake. They all.
And the fact that
somebody said we had more people in the streets over a black guy dying of fentanyl than we did about finding out our own politicians raped and ate children.
Yeah, we're getting like absolutely 100% right. And the fact that it's Cenk who's pointing that out, the credit,
even
credit
crazier.
there, credit there, where
you
credit
couldn't.
is
You
due.
4 or 5 years ago, you couldn't told me that.
He would make that point, right?
Yeah,
you know, like that. Yeah, he would be calling out, you know, the conspiracy theorists for such a thing. All right, now we're gonna have some fun. I found a fucking post today that I was absolutely in shambles.
It basically just combines your 2 favorite things, Mario and Sopranos.
Yeah. Can you hold up? Let's see. I hope were you able to hear this stuff this whole time, Cap? Like all the things we were playing before. You heard
with Joe. Yeah, speaking with each other, of course.
Just making sure. Sorry. Okay. No. I'm trying to. Hold on a second. The fuck's going on here? Okay. Sorry. Actually, they so I just found out the StreamYard added a new feature that lets you hear it both ways. But anyway, so I saw this before. Sorry for the delay. And I was just completely in fucking shambles when I watched this before. So I'm just gonna play it all for you now, just to have a laugh, and then we'll get the fuck out of here.
These things called Coopers. They barged in here, all pissed off about something, and took Carmela.
Motherfucker!
I know. Paulie said you gotta jump through paintings or some shit to save her.
What the fuck? I know you said you wanted it burnt, T, but the picture moved me. You know what it does to me? To be reminded of that fucking horse? I'm sorry, T. What are you and your horse? You get a big laugh out of that?
That's no joke. That cost me a lot of money to get the retouching done.
If you want your wife back, you're gonna have to battle me, Tony.
And even after defeating Gary Cooper, I still couldn't find Carmela.
Look on the bright side. At least you saved the Mushroom Kingdom.
I don't give a fuck about the Mushroom Kingdom. I want to know where my wife is.
Have you tried looking in another castle?
No, I don't fucking deserve this.
Go follow that page, man. That was a great page.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's a nice cross-up of all the things we love. Sopranos, Super Mario. I love the little toad smiling in the background while Paul and Tony were fucking going at it. The picture, if anybody doesn't know, the captain got me that exact picture of Tony and the horse for
before
Christmas.
They changed it to the general. I got you with Tony.
Yeah, it's now proudly hanging in my living room. It's Tony Soprano and the horse that captain got me for Christmas. So a lot of things converged on that video. I saw it at work today. And I was literally fucking in tears watching it.
All righty. Anything else, my friend? All right, Doom Nation. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Maybe you guys learned something. I'm going to say something that I'm sure is going to get us kicked off. Christ is king. And on that note, adios.